In 2016, Manchester City got knocked out of the Champions League, the FA Cup, and just about scraped a fourth-place finish in the Premier League. But over the course of the next 8 years, everything changed as they would go on to win 19 major trophies in the most dominant way possible as they broke record after record, changing the way football is played forever. But for all of this to happen, they needed a genius manager capable of leading this team to glory, and that is exactly what Pep Guardiola did. But how did this all happen? How did Pep move to the hardest league in world football and turn it into his playground? Well, for us to understand this, we have to go back to 2008, which is the exact moment Manchester City's trajectory as a football club changed forever. On the 23rd of September 2008, Manchester City Football Club was purchased by Abu Dhabi billionaire Sheikh Mansour, and overnight, hope started to brew in the blue side of Manchester. Fans had watched Chelsea transform from mid-table mediocrity to one of Europe's most deadly forces after a similar multi-million-pound takeover, and the possibility circulated that another superpower had landed in England. Suddenly, overthrowing United as the Premier League's most dominant club became City's sole ambition, and the club's newfound wealth enabled the East Manchester club to secure the signings of elite talents Sergio Aguero, Yaya Toure, David Silva, and Vincent Kompany. So it wasn't long before this exciting young side dramatically won their first Premier League title in 2012 in the final minutes of the season.
Back to Balotelli, it runs for Aguero! They do it! City win the title! It's Aguero with his 30th goal of the season!
Despite City's exuberant yearly spending, managers would struggle to consistently get the best out of one of the world's most talented teams. Eliakim Mangala, Wilfred Boney, and Raheem Sterling all arrived at the Etihad for large transfer fees, but City only won one of the following 4 Premier League titles as they struggled to build the dynasty that Manchester United had done under Sir Alex. And the club fared no better in the Champions League, embarrassing themselves with frequent group stage exits or getting humiliated by Barcelona and Real Madrid in the early knockout rounds. Come the 15-16 season, and City had struggled, suffering big defeats to Liverpool, Leicester, and Tottenham. And the thought that City could become the Premier League's dominant force began to ease until whispers that a Catalan tactical genius might step into the dugout emerged. You see, Pep Guardiola's tiki-taka football at Barcelona and Bayern Munich was breathtaking, as the young manager won the league title in all but one of his 7 seasons in La Liga and the Bundesliga, not to mention already having 2 Champions League trophies to his name. So, after announcing he'd leave Bayern, the manager had every elite club dreaming of landing his signature, and as City struggled under manager Manuel Pellegrini, it was announced in February 2016 that Guardiola would take over as City boss at the end of the season. That was a sensational move that wasn't supposed to happen. Europe's traditional elite, Man United, AC Milan, and Barcelona, were convinced the superstar manager would favor a move to a pre-existing football dynasty, but Guardiola decided to build one instead. And from this moment onwards, football would never be the same. Guardiola arrived in Manchester at a time of Premier League change because overnight it had become box office, as Jose Mourinho had recently been appointed as Man United boss, and the pair had history. During the latter stages of Guardiola's glorious Barcelona days, Mourinho took the helm at El Clasico rivals Real Madrid and snatched a title off Pep, ending a period of dominance that appeared as if it would go on forever. The matches between Guardiola and Mourinho were filled with drama, fallout, and lunging tackles, so supporters around the world waited to see the 2 managerial geniuses lock horns again in Manchester. But Jose wasn't the only nemesis Guardiola would meet again in England, because between 2013 and 2016, Guardiola was making light work of the Bundesliga, leading Bayern Munich to 3 back-to-back titles. But there was one man who somehow knew how to stop Guardiola: Jurgen Klopp. The towering tactician managed Borussia Dortmund while Pep was in Germany and masterminded 4-2, 3-0, and 2-0 victories against the seemingly unbeatable Bayern Munich manager. Klopp's intense gegenpressing football suffocated Guardiola's passing game and proved that the great manager had vulnerabilities and could be beaten by sides who didn't have the same financial power. And to the world's delight, the rivalry would continue in the Premier League, as several months earlier, Klopp had been appointed as Liverpool's boss with a fierce promise to return the Koppites to their former glory. So, if Guardiola was going to lift his first Premier League title, he'd have to overcome his two toughest managerial opponents ever faced. Now, despite Pep's pedigree walking into the Premier League, many pundits doubted whether Guardiola's football could succeed in the face of such aggressive competition on tricky away grounds like Stoke, especially if it was rainy. And for the first year, they would be proven right, as this Man City team was not exactly set up to play beautiful passing football, and he had some work to do. Between the sticks was Joe Hart, an English international goalkeeper who was as prolific as anyone in world football at saving shots. But there was a problem. The legendary City keeper could barely play with the ball at his feet, and Pep wanted a ball player like Manuel Neuer was, so he signed Claudio Bravo. In defense, Vincent Kompany fit into Pep's vision, but that was about it, prompting him to drop $55 million on John Stones to form a center-back partnership to last years. He also signed talents who'd impressed him during his time in the Bundesliga, such as Dortmund's Ilkay Gundogan for $27 million and Schalke's Leroy Sané for $52 million, creating the first steps at building a team that could play Guardiola's expansive style of football. Besides the signings, he walked into a team flowing with talent up front. Aguero, De Bruyne, and Silva, to name a few, meant that Pep was not lacking firepower, they just needed to be taught his system. So, with a team of stars and a total summer transfer spend exceeding 171 million euros, could Guardiola replicate the glory of his Barcelona and Bayern Munich teams in the toughest league in the world? Guardiola's Man City began their journey as they hosted in the Premier League on the starting day with a starting lineup that hardly looked like an outfit that would dominate the division for the following decade. Willy Caballero started between the sticks, and Gaël Clichy, Alexander Kolarov, John Stones, and Bakary Sagna completed a shaky-looking defensive structure. Many believed City's hopes were reliant on their exciting midfield and attack, which featured Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, and Sergio Aguero. Despite the imperfect starting lineup, City edged Sunderland 2-1 before following their opening day victory with another 5 back-to-back wins, including a 2-1 triumph against arch-rival Mourinho. Things were looking good for Guardiola until October arrived, and he endured arguably his toughest 2-month managerial spell to date. City traveled to Tottenham, sitting top of the Premier League, feeling dismissive of their White Hart Lane opposition. But Dele Alli inspired the London club to a 2-0 victory, and City rarely threatened throughout the 90 minutes. Guardiola then suffered frustrating 1-1 draws against Everton, Southampton, and Sunderland in 3 of his next 4 Premier League matches before his former side, Barcelona, destroyed City 4-0 in the Champions League. As Messi bagged a hat-trick and reminded Pep of the superstars of his former team, he must have felt his current City side was a million miles away from dominating Europe.